Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
And welcome to the Weird Science Comics YouTube channel, where I'm going to be going through Deceased Dead Planet #1 by Tom Taylor and art by Trevor Harrison. It is obviously the continuation of the whole Deceased line of books, which there's been plenty, and that is one of my issues. Actually, I think that we are getting a lot of Deceased very quickly here, especially now we end up having the Hope at World's End digital first book still going on, and now we get Deceased Dead Planet #1. And if you have been listening to our podcast and all that sort of thing, you will know that the first Deceased mini I was not that hip with. I'm a huge Tom Taylor fan. I ended up feeling that it was more of him just showing that he can kill characters, which has been kind of a thing that people are typecasting him as. I think that he's more of a character developer. I think that he has a really good sense of humor a lot of times with the characters. And then when they do die, which they inevitably do, you end up having the feels because he has made you love characters, oftentimes characters that you didn't even know you could ever love, like in the Deceased the Unkillables mini. I ended up falling in love with the Creeper. And so when he ended up dying, I had some feels for that. But this story is about the return 5 years later of the heroes that ended up leaving Earth at the end of Deceased, coming back to save a friend. Now, first, we are recapped with the deal here that we lost a lot of heroes, but in the whole deal and why this book is happening and how Tom Taylor is going to kind of tie things in to make it become a thing is that Cyborg has figured out that he not only caused the anti-life virus, but he actually also has the cure inside him as well. It's been inside him all along, right? And so you end up getting a little bit of recap, and then you go off. And this is a cool little deal at the beginning. And this is something that does have me intrigued and actually has me a little pumped up, because we end up seeing Constantine sitting there drinking with himself, but he's not drinking with himself. He's there with Chaz's ashes, at least. He had to burn Chaz. But you also see the ghosts of all the characters that he kind of was with in the Deceased A Good Day to Die #1 one-shot. And that was probably my favorite single issue of this whole Deceased thing. And I think that a lot of people forgot about that one. So it's a pretty cool deal. It's a pretty cool way to show you that, you know, Constantine has remained alive pretty much by hanging out in the Oblivion Bar. But we get to the main gist of the whole series and why this thing is happening is that Cyborg ends up being decapitated by Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman comes to get him, does end up decapitating, but when this is going on, he actually kind of is able to interrogate her and able to figure out that there is a cure for the virus, that it is inside of him. And because of that, he ends up sending a distress signal out to the heroes who had left. And there's a cool little tie-in for Batman fans. The reason he is able to send out the signal is because originally Batman had put a tracker inside of Cyborg, and, you know, with the hashtag Batman things, right? We could see that happening. So this all goes on. Now, we go to Earth 2, where our heroes have gone, and we have a new Justice League. You ended up having Tom Taylor even on Twitter saying that there's going to be a bit of Super Sons going on in this Dead Planet, because we do have a John Kent Superman and a Damian Wayne Batman. If you didn't know, Batman ended up dying very early in the first Deceased miniseries, and then in the A Hope at World's End issue, the last issue as I'm speaking, you ended up having Damian accept the cowl and become Batman as well. And one of my complaints, or one of my disappointments with this whole thing, this issue and the whole Dead Planet, is I actually wanted to see more of this Earth 2. I wish that we can have, and I know that doesn't give you the Deceased feel because they're on a planet that does not have the anti-life virus, but I actually wish that maybe the digital would have just been a Earth 2 digital story with what's going on this new Earth 2. We even get a Lois Lane president, and I wish we could have seen that so that we know what they're actually leaving behind to go back to get Cyborg. Yes, they're going to a planet, our Earth, that is destroyed. It is overrun. They consider it a dead planet, realizing that that's not quite the case. But I wish that we would have seen more of this stuff, because I think this is very interesting. This Earth 2 stuff is really cool. It's something that even harkens back to Tom Taylor, who took over the Earth 2 book in the New 52 from James Robinson. It's not that Earth 2, but still, it's kind of a wink with that. And I would have liked to have seen more of that, because what we get with a Damian Batman, a John, a Superman is really, really cool. And I love Lois being the president of Earth 2. I think that that is really, really cool. And how at the end you have this kind of alien invasion thing going on. It really doesn't mean anything, but I like seeing Lois come in, a little diplomatic stuff going on, showing that our heroes aren't just there to, rock 'em, sock 'em. They're there to try to find peace and try to find a new home and all of these things going on. But overall, this is going to be about the dead planet. And you end up getting that signal from Cyborg saying, hey, come and get me. You left me behind. He knows. Cyborg himself, chose to stay behind. He did not want to go to this Earth 2 just in case he might end up spreading everything again. But when he realizes there is a cure, well, that's kind of his ticket to ride off to Earth 2. And they end up having a vote, the new Justice League, and it's unanimous. They're going to go. They can't leave a friend behind. They probably figured Cyborg was long dead and wrote him off now that he has sent the signal. It's kind of like you don't want to, have that on your conscience. So they're going to go back. And there are some nice moments in this, but some of them just go by too quickly. And we didn't really get a lot of the setup of it. You have Lois here talking to John, who is now Superman, and talking about the responsibilities and how he has become such a great Superman and things like that. And I would have liked more of seeing what Lois thought of Superman not coming with them because he was infected. I want to see John trying to live up to his father and things like that. And we kind of push that aside to go back to the anti-life virus. And I think that that's a shame. There's something could be had from this that I think would be very special. We're just not going to get it right now. Two of the characters that Tom Taylor is great with are Black Canary and Oliver, Dinah and Oliver. And they were awesome in his Injustice run when he was writing Injustice. And they're really, really good with Harley, who is alive on Earth. So I was hoping that maybe we would eventually get, going back to the quiver, if you know what that means, you probably have a big smile on your face and stuff like that, because I love the trio of Dinah, Ollie, and Harley. And by the end of this, we see that may not happen, but you end up with some moments with the idea of the sword, giving it to Oliver. The sword kind of just shows up here because it's going to be big at the end. And one of the things that always worries me about Tom Taylor, you have to watch the dialogue. You have to see, because he does kill people. I mean, he does kill a lot of his characters. And when you get lines like, hey, pretty bird, I like it here. Promise we'll come back. And Dinah responds, I promise I'll bring you back. That seems like Tom Taylor sending it something. It's like almost like, in a body bag. And I can only imagine that by the end, even though there is some hope in this by the end, but I have a feeling we might be ending with a huge funeral where a lot of people are going to come back to Earth too. They're not going to rest in peace. They're going to rest in pieces. We shall see how that goes. We have a while before we get to that. But our Justice League goes off back to Earth. And with that, too, you end up where they're, hey, let's go get Cyborg. And it doesn't seem like any sort of difficulty at all. It's like they don't mention it's going to take a long time or it's a real pain in the butt or, they're just there. And you see that Kilowog and the Green Lantern Corps, they placed kind of a wall around it. They have the whole planet quarantined. So they're going to let the Justice League in to try to get Cyborg. We do get a mention of what Superman is doing. He's still eating the sun. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet. He's just sitting there. So everything is dying down. The sun isn't as powerful now. The earth is getting colder. Superman is eating the sun, all of that sort of thing going on. But as they're there talking, all of a sudden out of nowhere, something is coming at them. Something is going to attack. They think, except that it's Crypto. Crypto is still around. He comes back and he smelled John. He knew John was there. He comes to be. And this is the small little deal that I like. I like this whole, the feels moments and things like that. But again, things are just kind of rushed in my mind in this issue just to set up the ongoing deal. And I understand you have to do that with a number one. But there was a lot of moments that seemed to be left on the table that really could have been a lot better. And even then, like I said, it's no problem getting to Earth. They end up and then they find Cyborg right away. And so they go down. Hey, you find Cyborg? Yep, we found both pieces of him, his body and his head. Oh, my. And he's been waiting for them to come after sending the signal. And the first thing he pretty much tells them to do is run because Wonder Woman is still out there. Also, we have hordes of anti-life infected people, heroes. Everything is converging on them. And it makes sense because we saw before in all the DCeased books that if there is life, the anti-life is going to go for it. And you can only imagine that our Justice League here is the only life on the planet. The whole planet's going to be after them within seconds, which it seems like they are. Unfortunately, that Wonder Woman, she's pretty quick, right? She's pretty quick. She's pretty brutal. We've seen this. We really saw it in Unkillables. She is just brutal. She ends up destroying their ship and then pretty much goes and slices and dices Oliver. And we hardly knew ye, Ollie. But the thing is, as this goes on, you end up having Dinah using the sword that can kill gods. And very convenient there, unfortunately. Kind of goes through two people. And as it ends, you do end up seeing that John realizes there is a cure, something, again, that's Cyborg. That's why he sent the message out. Now, you can say all along, why would they go? I know that Cyborg's a buddy and he's a friend, but really, that could have been such a trap. It didn't end up being, as far as we know, but it seemed kind of forced to get there all in all. And I do want to see more of Constantine. On the cover, you see Swamp Thing and things like that. I want to see more of these side characters as well, see what's going on. But overall, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I know that people love DCeased, and I'm sure people are going to be pissed off at me and say, oh my God, it's just, this is all set up. Things happen very quickly. And then the things that I was really interested in, no time was taken with them and they were brushed aside. So overall, I am hoping that I can enjoy the rest of the series after, setting this up. There are some feels to be had, but again, they're kind of rushed and kind of seem very forced. And unfortunately, with these DCeased books coming out one after the other very quickly, kind of like the whole White Knight stuff was. When DC gets a hit, they will throw it at you and they will try to get as much as they can out. But with that, you kind of are getting the Tom Taylor formula, which is something that if you're a Tom Taylor fan like I am, you're already aware of, but you're getting the Tom Taylor DCeased formula. And I think that is starting to feel a little stale. I hope that he has some more twists and turns before we get to the end of this, because I don't want people, and I already see people saying, yeah, that DCeased, it's just Tom Taylor killing people. And I don't want him to be typecast like that. He is a great writer. He's one of the best writers out there right now. And I love him. And I don't want that to happen. So give this a shot. See what you think and let me know in the comments below. I'm not here to fight with people. I'm not here to give a score so that people can throw shade at me or whatever. But if you disagree, agree, whatnot, let me know. I am always interested to hear everybody's point of view. And if you like the video, I'd ask you to like it. That's number one, but also subscribe to the channel and look at the links below to all sorts of things, Weird Science, the DC and Marvel podcasts and websites and all that sort of thing. But thanks for watching and listening, and I will talk to you later.